All right. I'm really sorry about giving you two videos in 1 week, but if you noticed in this module, we're trying to cram 4 chapters into 3 weeks right before the midterm exam, so it's got to happen. The good news is chapter 19 and chapter 20 are kind of short chapters, and since we already talked a lot about the stuff you need to do, like for example, the essay, don't forget the essay on the last video. As long as you watch the last video, we don't have to talk about it again here. So instead, we can focus our attention on chapter 20, the progressive era. Basically, so far in our class, hopefully you've picked up in the first 4 chapters or so, the United States is growing economically, even geographically, and exponentially. And as the United States grows and gets bigger, there's this sense that we could be better. And this is a pretty normal experience in American history, that as the country has improvements in certain segments, whether it be economics, politics, there's this idea that our society also can improve or progress. That's why we call it the progressive era, the idea of getting better, addressing a lot of the issues that we've been talking about since the beginning of our class. Some of them might even be things that show up in your essay. Things like being concerned about the environment, being concerned about the inequality that industrialization has created, corruption within society that we have seen throughout our class. And you might notice that a lot of the issues that they're trying to address in the progressive era are focusing on that one kind of fatal drawback of democracy, which is that concept that if a majority rules a democracy, how do you protect the minorities? In other words, a lot of this inequality has affected minorities. African Americans, we've seen since the beginning of our class, have been struggling in the face of prejudices, segregation, voting, intimidation, all of these things. Women, okay, even though we saw in chapter 17 that in the West, due to economic factors, women are gaining more chances and opportunities. Nationally, they still weren't. And so we see that being addressed. And there's a whole video for you to watch about that, the women's suffrage movement and the struggles they went through to achieve the right to vote by the end of this era. And really, the thing that we notice, among other things in this chapter, is it's not that the government is dictating to the people what will change, what will get better, what will remain the same. It's that the people, in a way, are dictating to the government through people like the muckrakers kind of drawing attention to these issues, special interest groups like the NAACP drawing attention to their plight. The government is really kind of backed into a corner to pass legislation, and it all kind of bows to the leadership. And we're going to talk hopefully about that in one of our chat sessions. Remember, we're having 2 of them a week. You just try to attend one of them, but I've made 2 simply because it's more, if one time's more convenient for you than the other. But hopefully we'll get a chance to talk about this idea of leadership and the role leadership plays, focusing on the 3 presidents who are around during that progressive era: Theodore Roosevelt, William Howard Taft, and Woodrow Wilson, and the roles that they play. Like I said, here's the good news. You got 2 videos this week because we're trying to cover 2 chapters, but because of the fact that these chapters are going to get a little short movie. So have a good week. If you have any questions, feel free to email me.